Hey family, welcome back to Family Meeple. I'm Raymond. It feels like an absolute age, I'm sure it has been, since I've been able to bring any content to the channel, but I have now recently received my copy of Stone Spine Architects. I'm very excited about this one. This comes from Thunderworks Games. This is from the people that created Role Player, which is a favourite of mine. I grew up when I was younger playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that part of just actually creating the character, rolling up the stats, really enjoyed that. What this does is quite different, but quite similar. It's also the people who created and brought to us Cartographers, which is a fantastic little flip and fill game, and they've had a number of expansions to that now, as I dare say they may well do for this at future points. And then it also comes with this beautiful little plushie, which my daughters are incredibly excited about. But for now, he will reside in my office. It's very smooth, very, very plush. Beautiful. Okay, so let's have a look. Top down view. What have we got in the box? I'm just going to pop you over to one side there, Mr. Gully. Okay, so first of all, the back of the box. What does it tell us? As a student of dungeon crafting, you must carve your own perilous labyrinth into the base of the Stone Spine Mountains, hence the name Stone Spine Architects. So this is based in the world of Ulos. So this is where all of the role player tales and all that menagerie of games as has been formulated, and it comes here so from the designers of Cartographers, and you definitely get that feel and that sense of Cartographers and role player that we've come to know and love from these guys. So what's in the box? We got a instruction manual, so it feels quite thick, but actually it's not too bad. We've got it's fairly well spaced, and there is the main multiplayer game, and then there is a variation for 2 players, and this is very thick quality. I don't know if you can see, just as that light shining there is a texture to this. This is very, very nice. So, and we've got the solo play as well. So it does come with an automa, so you can play against yourself. I would imagine, I've looked into it obviously, but I would imagine you're playing against your score. So you're looking for scores of 132 reputation. So where do you scale on that? And that determines how good you have been at crafting your dungeon. So let's have a quick look at the intro little story here. So dungeon crafting is an ancient Minotaur art passed down from master to apprentice for eons. You've studied under Master Hortgully. That's this dude over here. For over a decade, and now it's time to demonstrate your skill. One final project stands between you and greatness. You must carve your own perilous dungeon into the base of the Stone Spine Mountains. Colback will provide labour, and Lord Duntum's menagerie will bring beasts to populate your constructions. The builder whose dungeon proves the most challenging to Queen Amalia's chosen heroes will achieve the title of Master Architect. So that is the purpose of what we are trying to do in the game. So what does it actually look like? Let's have a look. So we get a nice little, we'll have a look at this at the end, a little catalogue here for TW Games, Thunderworks Games. So we get some nice thick punch boards. So that's good quality there. And what have we got? So we've got various shapes. So that iconography. Then we've got some monsters, some presumably wandering monsters. We've got these, which I presume would be traps, and then these, which again I presume to be architectural features of some type, perhaps. Architectural, no, these are jellies, blobs. They're also jellies and blobs. And treasure chests. Treasure chests, nice. Money. Various traps, we've got those right, and various monsters, got those right. However, mixed in with those monsters then are these pathways that you can use to form your labyrinth, I guess, where you get cards, and you'll see in a moment, but you'll get cards that mean when you play them, they won't have a tunnel connecting two cards together, and you want to try and connect. But we'll go into all that. Okay, we've got some. Are these tops and bottoms, perhaps? These? I think so, maybe. Okay, we'll have a look at those in a moment. And we've got the scoreboards. Yes, they must be the tops and bottoms. There we go. So we get a gold card. We can track where we are on our gold level as we spend those, and then regather gold at the end of our turn and spend again. We'll have a game end condition, which will be the main goal, and what we're trying to do is competitively compete against that particular end goal, and then whoever has the most gold at the end of each round will take priority in choosing to either purchase these little doodads to fill your dungeon, or you can alternatively acquire a personal goal for yourself as well. Nice score pad. There we go. Whoops, there we go, figure out which way it goes. So lots of those. You can see there's quite a bit to score in each game. So we've got that. Like this. Nice Stone Spine Architects empty container. Of course, for our wonderful tokens, we'll punch out some, nice, like these, some nice chunky wooden tokens, and they've been beautifully screen printed, as you can see there. Very nice. I like those. Oh yeah. What do we got? Yeah, very nice. So I think the idea is that if you're the blue player, you have your own little icon and your colour, and what it will do is you'll place one of your tokens up here on the gold track, and the other one will feature down here to say where is your current priority at the end of the round when it comes to choosing stuffs. So get lots of cards you can choose from, and I will open those up in a moment. So it looks like we get some edicts from the Queen and some architecture cards. Those, some nice other wooden stuffs, and some more cards. There we go. Okay, and then this is what will determine, this is why it was so important. The flip side of these cards is the shapes, in fact, rather than necessarily the iconography. So it's the shapes that will determine what you'll get to choose from, effectively from the sort of the marketplace at the end of each round. There's an opportunity to put stuff into your dungeon. So you might be asking, well, why? What am I actually trying to do in this game? So let's have a look. Let's pop that out. Let's pop out a couple of these. I don't know just how many of these we need, but these will join together here. And I think the notion would be you'd have one at the top and one at the bottom. Maybe. Depending on the number of players. And you get some more treasure chests and some victory point tokens in there as well. Okay, so maybe that goes at the bottom. And what you're trying to do is in between here, what you will actually have is each round you'll be formulating, or players will be formulating at the same time, the opportunity to build their dungeon. So I have seen the modified 2-player version of this game, and it was very, very tight. Tight to the point of there was, I think, 1 point in it between the 2 players, which is great. Great job. Really like that closeness in a game. I like that you're not able to call it as you play. You kind of look and you can kind of hedge your bets as to where you think you are, where you think they are. So what would happen is you would shuffle these up. So just pull a couple at random. And as you'll see here, first of all, there are two different types of sort of stonework, if you like, within the dungeon. So they have icons in the top left hand corner, but the notion here is either you're building your dungeon in a cave system or in the stone. I think let's call them that, shall we? Let's see what else we've got in here. So there is a key card that I know I'm looking for. So let's have a look. So lots more. There we go. So there's lots more stonework dungeon there. I'm going to swap that one out for that one. And of course, all these would just be shuffled up. I don't think there's any difference between one and the other. Here we go. So when you start the game, you start with those. This is the automa. Pop that to a side. And then you'll have these goals, which will feature over here. And we'll open up, seeing as I'm on a card opening spree, let's open up the final pack. Okay, what does this say? Final priority. So these look like they're guidance cards for players, perhaps. Yep, setup reminder. I like that. Very good. And everyone can check everyone's work. So it tells you, so everyone would get one of these. So you get a nice little setup cards. You can all play together in terms of the setup. Make sure we're all above board and know what we're doing. And then you've got the actual construction and movement. And then you've also got a little guide, cheat sheet guide as well. So that's really helpful. So it tells you what all the monsters and the minions and the creatures are, etc. So you don't have to worry so much about trying to look at the little icons. Although they are color coded, actually, the monsters as they feature on here. So I was thinking, certainly the playthrough I watched, it was quite zoomed out. Which is great to see the overall game, but it was a bit difficult to then determine, okay, which ones are kobolds or which ones are goblins or whatever. But as you can see, actually, they're very distinctly coloured with the backgrounds as well. So, yeah, very, very easy to determine what it is you are looking at. So that's good. So these are the player reference cards. These are the main goals. Okay, this is the market deck. Here we go. And then these are... Okay, so I think... okay, so I'm guessing these are the main... these are the interim goals. And these are the main goals. So you would have one of these that's showing on here. And it basically says... And in fact, you know it's this one because it's got the... Did I flip this over? Oh, I did flip it over. Okay. Here we go. So this is 2 to 5 players side of the scoring track. And when you flip it over to solo play, it's actually slightly different. Very nice. I like that. I appreciate that. I like that they've given that attention to the game and make it a bit more unique when it comes to the solo play. So that's great, even though they've got the automa deck. Okay, so you'd have, in a multiplayer game, you'd have a group goal that you're working towards, an edict from the Queen that basically says, so in this example, have the most goblins in your dungeon. So all the cards that you've got, the goblins, this little dude here, let's lift that up. So if you've got the most of these little critters in your dungeon, then you will get either 15 or 9 or 5 points, I think it says, yeah. Depending on who is the winner at the game end. Okay, you will also get, in addition to the goal points, you'll also get a game end priority bonus. So if you end the goal in priority, you'll get either 9 points, 6 points, or 3 points, depending on the number of players. It's up to 3 players there. And this is where, as I said, you would track your priority and you track your level of gold. Okay, dead simple. So what each player then has is, in addition to your tracker for the board over here, you also have an entrance and an exit. I love the fact these are so chunky. Beautiful. Really nice colour choices as well. So you've got red, green, yellow, blue and black as your 5 player options. So there is your archways to lead you into and out of your dungeon. And so what you would do is you would shuffle these up and you would start with a random blueprint that you've been given to say this is what we are looking for you to achieve in terms of the building of your particular dungeon. So here, for example, it tells you whereabouts your entrance is at the top of the dungeon as you come in, and then you're going to exit down here, and then you'll have certain things that you're going to be trying to achieve. So in this case, we've got these cave floor types that we're ideally going to position in our dungeon, and then you've got particular monsters like this gelatinous cube and this slime and this goblin and this treasure chest, these particular features that you're also trying to line up. So when it comes to your turn, what you would do is we're going to start here at the top of the dungeon. So this is where it said this is our entrance according to our card. So you see that in this second column. And then what you would do is you would have a hand of cards, and you would choose one of those cards to pick to go into your dungeon. So for example, I know I want to have stone, or this kind of cave icon over here on this side to match this. So I might choose that, and that's worth 3 gold, so that's quite nice. I might try and fit this one in if I could, because it's worth 5 gold. So you can see the anatomy of the cards then is you've got these golds at the bottom of the card. And what you would do is you'd put out your 4 rooms and you try and work to whatever this particular thing is. And ideally you want to be trying to join these things up. So at the moment, these 2 are joined. So I've got 2 that are joined to my entrance, and you'll get a point for each thing that's joined to your entrance, and when you get to the other end, a point for each one that's joined to your exit. So I know that that's what I'm working to. Yeah. And even though these aren't joined at the moment, I have an opportunity as I come down here to build around and join these up. Okay. For everything that's connected to here, I get a point. Everything that's connected to there, I get a point. You will end up with a 4x4 grid that will make up your dungeon. And that's so you have the potential of a maximum of 32 points if you can connect all of your dungeon together. And then you'll also get points based on your particular goals. So these victory points at the bottom here, if you've managed to achieve 1, 2, 3 or more features, you'll get the appropriate level of additional points for achieving the features for your dungeon. So here, for example, I would have achieved this one, getting this cave format. And then there are opportunities, depending on the number of players, to be able to have those punch board icons, those features that you can then buy. So if I had done this, then at the end of my round, what I would do is I'd work out, okay, I've got 10 goals. I've got 5 there, nothing from this one, 2 and 3. So I would get my 10 gold, and then I'd come over here and I'd have punched out these things, randomly mixed them together, and based on the backs of the cards, put them out. So you got like 2 squares here and a long oval shape here, and then 3 circles. So these would be random. And for example, one of the ovals might enable me to connect, might be a stairway, which means I can connect these 2 that aren't currently connected together. So it means then I've got 3 cards already connected. On the other hand, I might have a treasure chest on one of these circles, and that means then I could buy that treasure chest for 7 gold to come over here. So I would then spend down to 3 gold left, spend 7 gold to put a treasure chest in here. So you kind of get the gist of how it works. So you're trying to lay these cards out and achieve your particular goals. And what would actually happen is, on your turn, then you'd only actually place one of these cards. Yeah. So if this was now the second round of the game, I would say, okay, I'm going to keep this particular one, and now I'm going to pass the rest of these cards over to the player on my left, and then it alternates as well. So in round one, it'll be a player on my left. In round two, it'll be a player on my right, and back and forth you go. And the interesting quirk they did with these, the 2-player game variant, in order to try and increase the amount of fluctuation in the cards that you're seeing, is there's a bit of a kind of take that where you can do some what they call reference as hate drafting. So you would look at what your opponent needs in order to achieve their particular thing, or the level of gold, or the particular icons on that particular card that you've got, the cards that you've got left in your hand. You go, okay, they need lots of these slimes, so I'm going to get rid of the one that's got the 2 slimes on it, and I'll pass the 2 that have only got 1 slime each, for example. And then they would pass you their remaining cards, and you'd get those, and then you would draw an additional card for the one that's been tossed. So that's how it works. That's a variant that works in a 2-player game. In a 3-player game, you've got that many cards out on the table that actually you don't have to have that additional discard, destroy, hate drafting mechanism. But it works very well as that 2-player proponent. So yeah, so I like the fact that they've got, so when you start out, the game itself is really, really simple, because you get your overall goal that everyone's playing to, and you get your initial blueprint that you're then, that only applies to you. Your opponent's got their own blueprint. You might be but you might not be competing for anything at all, in terms of depending on what they've got for their particular blueprint. So they may have, so for example, in this case here, you can see that these are quite different. So where one player will be looking for these cave style base dungeon areas, the other one will be looking for these stone based dungeon areas that none of the creatures match. This one wants treasure, this one wants a trap, so very, very unique, and it can be anything in between. So you'll get a level of crossover, you'll get a level of non-crossover as well, where you're not competing for particular sort of resources and stuff that you can buy from the marketplace. And as it starts out, like I say, all you have is your blueprint and your main goal. As you come to the end of your first round, again, depending on the number of players, you would have a number of these sort of mini goals, if you like, that would be divvied out. And these mini goals would then give you additional little objectives that you can go for. And I say little, I mean, some of them, by all accounts, can give you quite a number of points. I mean, some of them are sort of similar to, so they'll just say, gain 2 reputation for each ooze on a single path. So if you can get a whole stack of ooze and they're all connected together, then there's a good amount of points to be had there. But there's all sorts of stuff. So if you've got victory points and treasure icons, then you get a victory, an extra victory point at the end for each of those. If you're trying to get a column of traps, and you'll get 2 points for each of those. So there's all sorts of things. Just straight up 10 points at the end of the game if you get that. And what will happen is, after everyone's bought stuff, or everyone's passed and not buying stuff anymore, either because they've run out of gold, or because there's nothing left, that when it comes back round to that person taking something, instead of taking something from there, they get to choose one of these. So there is a tactical element where you might see one of these things and go, oh, I really want to have that, and be playing for that, because actually that works really well for me given my blueprint or whatever it is. Therefore, I'm going to choose not to buy something in order to take that, and I won't be able to buy those things there, but if it doesn't impact your scoring, that works great. So yeah, very, very simple. As it starts off, you've got your blueprint and your main goal. you know you're fighting for priority for stuff up here that it will help you to fulfill your blueprint, and then you'll know that these will be coming. So at the end of the first round, as I understand it, this is when these then come out, and that's your first chance to see them. And then that's where you make that choice. Do I want to buy something here that's going to give me points to fulfill my blueprint, or am I going to bypass that because actually there's nothing of major interest there, or in fact what my opponent wants, that I will buy it to prevent them having it. And then I'll also then get, if I do pass, I get first pick of whatever these things are, which will give me extra points at the end of the game. And you'll do that for each of the 4 rows as you work your way through. And at the end, then you'll get your wonderful little mat of scorings, and work out, okay, so based on my blueprint, based on the main goal, based on my individual goals, how did I fare, how did it particularly compared to obviously my competitor, or the automa, if that's how you are playing. And that's it. So very simple, fantastic iconography, really simple. There's minimal words. I love the fact that they've actually really taken on board one of the big things that I struggled with cartographers. They had these cards similar to this that had all your sort of individual goals, but the writing on them was so tiny. It was a dark background with white or grey writing, and it just made it so difficult to see. And you can see even there. I mean, I don't think it's focusing enough to actually read it, but the writing itself, here at the bottom of the card, nice and clear, very legible. It means you don't have to have a repeat in the book that tells you what all these cards do, which is what they did have to do with cartographers. And even the writing in the book was still quite small, but it was better. It was easier to read it from the book. They haven't had to do that this time, because they've made the writing on the cards so much easier to read, which is great. And all the iconography in terms of the things that you're looking for, the slimes, the gelatinous cubes, the monsters, everything like that, dead simple to recognise. Really like that. And I don't think there's any issues as well for those that do suffer with colour blindness. I mean, your common ones are probably red and green, but I think this is a pinkish enough red, if you'll excuse that abomination of the English language, but they're pinkyish enough that actually they're quite easy to differentiate between the blues, etc., and the different shapes as well. So even if you could potentially get confused between the gelatinous cube and the green kobold or whatever, goblin, and the purple with the blue one, that might be slightly closer colours. Well, actually, they're different shapes. So you're not going to get confused. You know what they are. Very, very simple. I think it's a great use of the colours, a great use of the texts and the fonts that are used. It's not difficult to read, which is brilliant. I think particularly, I mean, in fact, so the titles of these cards, I mean, they're very script, which is great. I mean, and they are there for flavour. Do you know what I mean? So it's not vitally important that you can see all that says goblin denizens. I'm guessing goblin denizens. Bassam Vault, Grand Gnoll, Grand Gnoll, there you go, yeah, Gnoll, Double Deception. So yeah, I mean, sort of easier. So you've got Kobold, Swarm, but they are that bit more difficult to read. But like I say, they're just the titles of stuff. They don't impact the gameplay. It's that flavour, that sense of theme. I think the theme is great on this. I think the idea of building these dungeons and putting stuff in, I'll be very interested to see if they do get to the point of creating an expansion, how that works. I really enjoy with Role Player in particular, going from just creating your own character and trying to effectively roll the best character you could as if you were going to be playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons, to then introducing this notion of, oh, actually now we're going to give you some monsters that you can fight and you can take on. So as you're building your character, actually you're going to be using some of these things, these stats that you've got, in the same as if you were playing the game of D&D, to take out these minions and eventually fight this big baddie. And then they brought in these familiars and fiends as well as kind of little minion for the big baddies and stuff like that. So yeah, really like that way of expansion. I'd be really interested to see if they do something similar with this, whereby the whole notion is you're trying to create this dungeon for the Queen to send her heroes into to kind of test their worth. So yeah, so I think it'd be really interesting to see how they could maybe really play with that mechanism and really exploit that and see how that operates moving forward. I think that'd be really exciting. But yeah, I mean, so I'm excited to get this to the table, excited to play this with the girls. I think it's simple enough. You know, it's not too arduous, not too sort of brain power wise. Gameplay time, I think they've said 45 to 60 minutes on the box. Most people that have been playing this have been saying actually that's in a very, very rare occasion in the gaming industry. It's actually over baked. Most people saying because you're all playing simultaneously, it's really kind of the marketplace and that tension of the marketplace and priority order to maybe take these goals, that kind of gives you that sense of do that kind of AP, that analysis paralysis. Okay, do I want to do this? How much is that going to impact this? Or would I rather go here, knowing that maybe there's something I could buy that could stop someone else getting their points, etc. So that's probably the longest part of the game, is that decision making around there. When you've got a hand of cards, again, it's quite simple then to work out, okay, what are the particular things that I'm looking for? What's my blueprint say? Can I link these dungeon elements with what it is I'm trying to score and link them to one another? So yeah, so I mean, people will say probably about more like close to half an hour for a game. Maybe the first game probably 45 minutes, just people getting a bit more familiar with the rules. But actually, it's a very, very simple game to jump into. It's very much a filler game, but it's quite nice. It's nice to have filler games, particularly when you've got maybe an evening booked in, you've got a longer game that you've got to the table, and actually for whatever reason you've done particularly well, maybe it's a co-op game and you've wrapped up a bit earlier than you'd expect. It's nice to have something like this. It's really quick and simple to get out, to set up, to play through, and yeah, just really nice way to spend the evening, or even play maybe 3 or 4 games back to back. Variation, there's a good level of variation out the box, I think, with the different dungeon cards, the different sort of mini goals, main goals, blueprints. I think there's enough variation there to kind of keep that going and yeah, to get a good amount of value of gameplay from this little box of treasures. So no, really, really looking forward to getting this to the table. I will have a go at the Automa as well and see how that fares. And yeah, this little dude will be joining me, I'm sure, and supporting me until, of course, such a time as my girls no doubt try and nab him for themselves. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. I've missed you guys, and I hope to be coming back with some more content in the very near future. So otherwise, just to say finally, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.